What's up, glue dots? Today's DIY is using those floating shelves from the Dollar Tree that I kept seeing and knew I wanted to use for something but wasn't quite sure what. I finally came up with an idea and I love the way it turned out, and it's something really useful actually too, which is always a plus. I made two different versions, one kind of feminine version and one masculine version, so if you need something for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or any other occasion, you've got some options. Also, you'll see that by changing up paint color and embellishments, how you can make any style into any other style using kind of the same general basic foundation. So I think we should get right into it. What do you say? Let's do it. I'm going to be showing you two different styles of this candle holder, tray, whatever you want to use it for. One's going to be a more glam version and one is going to be a more masculine version. So depending on the style you like, you can choose different types of frames, and I'm going to be spray painting, so it really doesn't matter what color of these little floating shelves you find, but I figure if I'm going to be doing the dark one, I may as well pick a dark one and spray it with dark paint. So the first thing I'm going to work on doing here, I've got all the wrap and stuff off of my frames. I'm also going to take out these little metal pieces here that are used to hang it, just to make it like that. And they come out really easily, just using one of these little screwdrivers. And if you don't have one of these, you can get the little set at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to take all four of the screws and these little pieces right out. Now this is not something you have to do. I mean, really you could leave them in there and spray paint over them. It's not an issue at all, but I just figure they're really not going to show much, so I may as well take it out, and if I can use these pieces for something else, then I will. Now I'm going to be doing these two projects simultaneously. You don't really need to do two unless you want to, but I'm just going to remove everything from these frames so that I can have that glass free. And also I want to be taking off this piece right here. So if you kind of just pull at it a little bit, it will come out. You don't really have to worry too much about how this underneath side looks, because it's also not going to show. These you can take them out or you can leave them. They're a little harder to get out, so you may just choose to leave those in. They're going to be on the underside, so they're really not going to be showing. So I am taking everything out, and I'm going to be saving the frame, of course, this backing, and the glass. Next, depending on which style you're going to be doing, you're going to be spray painting these pieces here, your two shelf pieces, one side of your glass and your frame. If you don't want to spray paint the glass, you can always put like a decorative paper behind, but I really like the look of when glass is painted from the inside and then you see it from the outside. It has a really pretty shine to it, and also it won't scratch when we're putting things on top of it. So I'm going to go out and get these all spray painted, and I'll be back. Okay, I actually ended up painting the inside of this white also. It's not really necessary, but I don't know, overkill. So I'm taking now my piece of glass here, and this is the side that I spray painted, and when you flip it, you see what a nice look that gives with the white paint showing through that glass. It makes it really shiny, so I love that. I'm going to put that back into my frame with the shiny side up, and I'm also going to put my little cardboard piece that came with it right behind there. The next thing we're going to do is be using our two floating shelves, and we're going to take our frame and we're going to be gluing it down. Again, I want to space it evenly on here so that you have that even lip all the way around. And for that, I'm going to be just using my hot glue gun. And if you want to use E6000 instead, you certainly can do that. Glue gun is just so much quicker. And then we'll be gluing the other side the same way. So now you have the basic stand for your candle holder. You can leave it like this if you want to, but of course, I cannot, and I do have to embellish it. So I am going to be using some of these little mirror squares. I got these on Amazon. You don't have to use them. I will leave you the link in case you want to. They're very small little size of square that will fit perfectly around this edge of the frame. So I think that's going to look really nice. And the other thing I'm going to be using as well is this pearl wrap from Dollar Tree. This one is silver, and I'm going to be cutting single strands of this and embellishing around the sides. You can only use this if you want. You can use regular bling wrap. This is where you kind of get the opportunity to play with it and make it your own. These mirror squares from Amazon are self-adhesive, so I'm just going to cut my strip of it and then peel it and stick it on. I really love the look of these mirrors because I just think they add a touch of classiness that you really wouldn't expect this item to cost as little as it does. And these mirror squares, you get tons of them for the price that they are. And I can't remember because I've had them for a really long time. But as I said, I'll have that link if you want these exact ones. Keep in mind that every frame is going to be slightly different, so you do want to pay attention to that as well for what size of squares you're putting on. Dollar Tree does carry occasionally some mirror squares, but they are a lot bigger than these. I ended up re-gluing using a little bit of my Gorilla Glue here. You can use E6000, you can use the adhesive from Dollar Tree, but I think it's better to do either both hot glue and that, or just the adhesive. So anyway, here's how it looks. I love the way that's looking so far. And the next thing I'm gonna do is start to use some of this pearl wrap, as I said. So I'm gonna do my best here to show you, but I can't really pick this up so much. So this section here, this flat part of the upper part of my little shelf here, I'm going to measure out the length of that and cut this piece off. And I'm not going to be able to use all the width of this, but I am going to use just one strand of it. I'm cutting it actually as close as I can to the bead itself so that those little strings don't show. I think it just gives that nicer look to it. And then you see this piece has the little strings. So then I'm going to go through and cut those little strings off so my next piece won't have them. So what I'm going to be doing is taking, probably as again I learned with the hot glue does not stick as well, I'm going to be taking and gluing with my adhesive this little trim right around the lower part of that top ridge. You see there's that first flat part, and I'm going to the bottom of that first flat part. So sometimes it's easier to use tweezers with this just because these little guys are so small. And I'm going to go around and do this all the way around on this lower portion here. You can add as much or as little of this as you decide you want to add on to get whatever look you like. So some people like a little more bling, which would happen to be me, and others do not. So do whatever is your style. Here's what it looks like so far, and as I said, I'm just going to go all the way around and continue that look. Honestly, I don't know why I cut the pieces that short. I was going to go around on the 4 sides, but I'm going to actually cut one really long one so I can just continue all the way around. Okay, now for the masculine version, I've already put my frame back together and have my glass in there, and I'm actually was toying with the idea of trying something different, and I had these various pieces of chain. This one I believe is from Michael's or from Joann's. I'm not sure where that tag is from. This one, it may just be, I don't know, it was a necklace. I'm not even sure also where that one was from. And then it looks like this one still has the tag on it from Claire's. And I really like that this one is kind of a black color already, and I think it's going to go really nicely with this black paint that I've put on there. So I'm going to do that. There's any number of options you can go with, but I thought I'd show you something a little bit different. When you're working with chain, there's a specific way you want to open it to really preserve the integrity of the metal. You want to pull one side toward you and push one side away, so that it opens like this and not side to side. That way you can open and close it as many times as you need to without destroying the integrity of that metal. I'm just going to close this up again in the same way. You can see I did this motion, right, as opposed to this motion. And this is kind of a common jewelry trick. And then what I'm going to be doing the same way that I put this trim around on my other piece, my more glam and feminine piece, I'm going to be putting the chain around the edge here on this piece. So I'm going to go right in that same area. Now, because the chain has some extra weight to it, I'm going to need to use a little bit of my hot glue as well as my E6000 so that it stays in place while I'm waiting on it to dry. And you can see I've got it spaced out a little bit, and then I'm going to put a dot of it here at the beginning to get it started and hold it into place. And I'll put another dot of it here on this end to hold it into place as well while my E6000 is drying. So eventually, I'm sure the hot glue will not really be holding very well because it doesn't really stick well to metal, but it's going to hold it long enough that my E6000 can get a chance to dry. I'm going to go around the whole thing here just like this and come here and also remove the link the same way that I showed you, and I'm going to do this to both of these pieces. Have you joined our Glue Dot family yet? If not, hit that subscribe button right down below. Also, give me a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. The next embellishing I'm going to do, now that I have the chain on there, because there's so much black going on, I was trying to think of what other textures and materials are masculine, and I came up with the idea to use some of these stir sticks. These are just wooden stir sticks that I am going to, and you can find them in a box of 1,000, I think, for pretty cheap. What I'm going to do is give that a light staining with some of this brown paint I got at Dollar Tree. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the brown paint with some water and really water it down. Now, as much or as little as you water it down is going to also determine how brown your sticks will end up. So if you want them lighter, add more water. If you want them darker, add a little less water. I might need to add a little more paint because I kind of want to have a little darker wood, but not completely painted because I do want to be able to see the grain of the stir sticks through. Now you're going to need a few of these stir sticks. So paint several, paint the sides, and we are going to be cutting these to fit around our little, I was going to call it a box, but whatever you want to call it. While I'm waiting on my little stir sticks to dry, I'm using this silver metallic marker that's from the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go around on this edge, upper edge here of my frame and just add a little bit of dimension by kind of covering that again with the silver. So originally this had gold. I'm going to do that both on this inner line and on this outer one as well. I'm going to put my frame aside now to really let that dry and settle in, and I'm going to go back to the sticks. So how you're going to do these sticks, we do have a bit of an angle here that we're going to need to account for. So what I'm doing, first off, you need one straight edge here to reach that side. So we are going to need to cut one straight side. And then you're going to put it up against the side here, take a pencil and mark that angle that you're seeing down here on your other piece. So I'm following the angle. This one doesn't have too much of an angle for that upper part. The bottom one has a little bit more. Then you have a piece that should fit perfectly on that end. Now the piece that we cut off, if you flip it, will also have the correct angle as well. So they should match up just fine over here on the edge. And then we're going to have to cut another straight edge here so that we can connect our next piece and do the same thing on this corner. So each of our pieces is going to end up with one straight edge and one angled edge. So I'm going to put this here in place and cut a straight edge on another piece here so I can line it up and mark it. And then over here at my corner again, I'm going to use my pencil and make a mark so that I get the angle cut right. Then again, I have this other piece that if we flip it will fit perfectly to come around here, and then we'll just mark the other edge so we know where to cut it off for the straight edge here. So I'm going to start first by gluing my first piece on that I cut, keeping in mind where those pieces all go. And I'm going to be using my E6000 with just a tiny bit of hot glue to hold it in place while it's drying. Then I'm going to put that right on to my piece. Now I'm going to follow that along with the next piece that I cut and get them all glued into place. I'm going to actually put 2 rows of those sticks on here. So my next row I'm going to put all the way down here at the bottom. And again, I'm going to do it the same way. Line it up. This is going to have a more steep angle to it, but we'll do the same thing and we'll trace it, cut it, and glue it down. Here's how I glued on my wood sticks. You can do them however you'd like. And the final step is to glue this piece here, our tray topper, on the same way we did with the other ones, spacing it out evenly. And I am going to use my E6000 and just a couple little drops of hot glue and show you how these look. Are you ready? All right. Hey, did you give a thumbs up yet and join our glued out family? Well, I'm not showing you until you do. I'm just kidding, but I'd love it if you do anyway, so please join us. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I have an Instagram and a Pinterest, both are EP Midnight Crafter, and I have a Facebook group, Midnight Crafter Glue Dots.